the follow-through figure 8 knot. To watch this video, you want to have a piece of rope or string in your hands, and you want to have the pause button close at hand so that you can pause the video to finish tying the knot before I keep talking. Now, we use many knots in rock climbing, but the most important is the one we're going to look at now. That is the follow-through figure 8 for tying into the rope. Like many climbing knots, it's based on the simple overhand knot. You make a loop, you feed it in through. You probably didn't even know this had a name. There it is, the overhand knot. Right? It's a loop with the end fed through. It's a useful knot, but the trouble is it can set up so hard under loading that it can be difficult to untie. So we avoid this problem by putting in a twist. We make our loop, and instead of feeding the end through, we give it a twist. We feed the end through. Now, a beautiful knot, but not very useful. It could become a whole lot more useful if we tied it on a double strand. So we treat this double strand here as if it's one piece of rope. We make our loop, we give it a twist, and we feed, this is our end now, we feed the end through the loop. Make a loop, give it a twist, feed it through, and there we have what we call an overhand, a figure 8 on a bite. This loop here is called a bite. So this is a figure 8 on a bite. Now in the old days, people just made the bite big enough to fit around their waist, pulled it over their heads or stepped into it, and away they climbed. Very, very uncomfortable if you fell. So today we have a harness, and I'm not going to talk about how you correctly install a harness in this video, assuming you're wearing a harness, and if not, you can just tie into a belt loop or on a bedpost or something while you practice the knot. Because we have a challenge. How are we going to attach this loop to the harness? What we're going to do is we're going to tie half the knot, include it in the harness, and then finish the knot. So we're going to tie a figure 8 and a bite in a different way. In a sense, one half at a time. I'm going to cut a long tail, a whole big arm length, and then make our figure 8, a loop, a twist, and we're going to feed through the end there. We've got a figure 8 with a long tail. Now, what I'm going to do is feed this long tail through both my attachment points on my harness, the waist belt and the belt connecting the thigh loops. And if you're not wearing a harness, just connect it to anything. And then I'm going to double up this knot by taking this tail and feeding it back through, following the rope all the way around until I made a double knot out of this single. So I'm going to lay the rope against the rope that's already in the knot, turning my knot into a double knot. I'm going to do this again so you can get a good look at it. So now I'm built into the knot. There's no way I can come detached from this. I've made a double figure 8, a figure 8 and a bite. The same knot, I've just tied it in a different way. Let me show you again. So I cut myself some slack. I'd make my twist. I feed this long tail through the loop, and I get a figure 8 with a long tail. Then I'm going to show you now without actually using the harness. We'll pretend the harness is here, and I'm going to feed this back through, doubling this knot until I get a figure 8 on a bite. So I lay the rope that's coming back into the knot alongside the knot that's already there. And there we have it. The tail should be really at least 10 times as long as the rope is wide. So in this case, about 10 centimeters long. And there you have it, the follow-through figure 8 knot. Good luck.